Hey, AP Bio students, I wanted to go over the last two homework assignments prior to you taking the test. This is 31.1, lists the different hormones. So, probably they're all important, but ethylene is the most talked about one usually, with ethylene causing the ripening of fruits. So, for example, um, a lot of us buy green bananas, and then over time, those green bananas turn yellow, and then eventually they turn a brownish black color. That is due to ethylene. And it's also why, if you have like bananas next to other fruits, those other fruits can ripen faster because they're impacted by the ethylene produced by the banana. Really, the other ones, auxin, gibberellins, and steroids, are involved in growth, and then abscisic acid is involved in inhibiting growth. And we could get much more in depth on those, but I think that's good enough with ethylene being the fruit ripener. How can the interruption, addition, or type of light affect the growth of a plant? If you interrupt light, that can alter if a flower forms or not. If you add light, that can cause flower formation. So Mr. Holzer does this all winter, where the greenhouse lights are never turned off. And they're never turned off so he can always have flowers in the greenhouse, especially for the long day plants, which we'll talk about here in a second. The type of light can help a plant or it can hinder growth of a plant. So, red lights tend to be the best in terms of growing plants. Green lights would not work as well. And we should know the answer why. To that, we'll get to it here in a second. 10 hours of light, 14 hours of dark. That is a short day plant. So if a plant receives less than 12 hours of light and it flowers, that's a short day. So we've seen that here in the early spring, tulips, daffodils in the late fall, mums. Long day plants require more than 12 hours of light. So that would be plants that bloom after, I believe, I don't know. I think June 21st. I'd have to look it up. But June and July, midsummer, is when you would see the long day plants. Why are plants so sensitive to blue and red? It all goes back to photosynthesis, where we know chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B absorb red and blue light the best, and they are the main pigments. 31.2. Discuss other stimuli that plants respond to. So we have hit this in depth with my PowerPoint. Gravity, shoots are negative, roots are positive. Touch with the morphogenesis and the thigmotropism. When some plants are touched, that stunts their growth. And we'll talk about greenhouse aisle plants here in a second. And then some plants want touch. They need to touch something to grow, like the vine plants, ivies, peas, etc. During drought, lack of water, most plants will wilt, and that will close their stomata so they can't lose any water. Flooding, the opposite, too much water, would be harmful to most plants because they can't get oxygen into the roots to produce ATP. But some plants will go ahead and kill root cells to create air spaces to allow oxygen to get into at least some of the living cells. Salt, some plants cannot handle any salt at all. Others will add solutes, so they'll add water or other solutes from their roots to reduce the molarity and to make the salt concentration less. If you remove the root cap, would the root still respond to gravity? And that really depends on the plant. Where if you have statulists, which are found in the roots, and starch, often found in the roots, they play the biggest role in gravitropism in the roots. So as long as one of those is present or both of those is present, a plant can still grow down with gravity. Next, a greenhouse worker finds that the mums nearest the aisles are shorter than the ones in the middle. Explain this edge effect. So this is again another thigmomorphogenesis or thigmotropism, where when people walk by those mums and accidentally touch them, that ends up stunting the growth of the plant. So that's why you would see this, where plants on the aisles in the greenhouse would be shorter than the ones away from the aisles. What are some drawbacks of spraying fields with insecticides that kill all insects? Really, you're reducing the mutualism, where many plants rely on insects for the transfer of pollen. The insects would get their food, nectar, sugar from the plants, and also some insects are involved in protecting plants by eating some of those insects that feed on the plants. Chewing insects damage the leaves. How does this make a plant more vulnerable? It's pretty easy. That opens up the dermis of the plant. That will allow pathogens in. Yes, plants can get viral infections. Plants can get other types of infections. So, a lot of the time, plants will sacrifice a little section of themselves for an insect to eat and then shut down the rest of the plant. And that concludes our botany unit, and now you should hopefully be ready for the botany test. Good luck.